So we're going to go over the exam. There's just a couple of things. Generally, I was very happy with them, by the way. But there's just a couple of things I do want to go over. If you have any questions about what points were taken off and why we don't get to them as we're going over only just a portion of the questions, don't hesitate to ask me. The one thing that you should know is question number 5. And we're going to be sure on Tuesday that you understand the various levels of measurement, especially interval ratio levels of measurements, because only 2 students in this class of ours got that correct. So what I decided, and usually when that happens, there is some responsibility that I need to take, if only 2 people got it right. So I threw out the question. The people who got it right, I gave you extra bonus points. But nobody should have gotten points off for that one, and we're going to be sure to revisit the levels of measurements. The other piece I wanted to bring up is social work implications. So when I ask you what are the social work implications for a particular question, actually, let's work with the last question on the exam. What is the relationship between the cognitive functioning and completion of a durable power of attorney for health care among retirement community residents 65 years or older? So everybody did a pretty good job with pulling out the independent and dependent variables and the unit of analysis. So what I'm asking you when I ask, talk to me about the social work implications of this research question, of conducting a research study around this question.
How is this relevant to what the social work does?
Right. How can a social worker use this information that will come from the question, that will come from the exploration of this question? Many of you talked to me about it, and I didn't take many points off. But many of you talked to me about how a social worker would go about doing the research, starting with the literature review, figuring out the methodology to use based on what was in the literature, which is great, because that's the research process that we've been talking about in here. But every research question we ask as social workers should have a social work implication to it. As a social worker, you should be able to pick up the results of your study, and if it's relevant to the work that he or she is doing, should be able to use it in some way. For example, if we know from research that persons with cognitive impairment are less likely to fill out a durable power of attorney, it indicates that we, as social workers, are going to have to be better and more assertive in advocating for those persons. We're going to have to make sure that even if the person is not capable of filling out the forms, that we involve the family members as spokespersons for these individuals. Research tells us that this population is not completing these advanced directives. But the social work profession encourages us to advocate on behalf of these individuals to make sure their rights are protected. Research has informed us as social workers about what we need to do in practice. So it is important that you can relate why the research question is being done to social work practice. Because it's a waste of everybody's time here if you can't relate it to social work practice in some way. So I wanted to make sure that you understood that. Can you think of other examples of what we learn from research that directs and informs our social work practice?